certain cutting situations and chainsaw starting techniques that should not be tried by any non-professional cutter, nor anyone who has not had specific training in these exact methods. Warning: before operating your chainsaw, read and follow all safety precautions and warnings in your Steel Owner's Manual or Safety Manual. Improper use can cause serious or fatal injury. Avoid contact of the bar tip with any object. This can cause the bar to kick suddenly up and back, which may result in serious or fatal injury. Always use two hands to operate the saw. Throughout history, man has looked to the forest to meet many of his most basic needs. And as those needs increased, he looked for better and safer ways to harvest that precious resource. In the early days of logging, a horse or a mule provided the raw power to bring trees to the mill. Men provided the muscle. Then, in 1928, a young German engineer named Andreas Stihl invented the first gasoline-powered chainsaw, and the logging industry was virtually revolutionized overnight. The horse and mule were soon replaced by tractors and wheel skidders, and production soared. In the United States, two felling techniques evolved to become industry standards. The conventional face, where the undercut is taken from the butt of the tree, and the Humboldt cut, with its undercut made on the stump. When used properly, each cut is efficient, effective, and as safe as circumstances will allow. In Sweden, loggers must be trained for a minimum of 2 years and be licensed before they can practice their trade. Sweden has also begun demanding that loggers also pass periodic follow-up examinations to make certain that their techniques are up to date. It is also in Sweden that a new technique has been developed, a technique that many professionals consider more safe and efficient. This new technique, called the open face cut, was developed by a Swedish logger named Soren Eriksson, who began his career in the woods of Scandinavia in the 1950s. By 1963, Eriksson had become recognized as an authority in the logging industry, instructing professional loggers throughout Europe, Australia, Africa, and North America. Like most professional loggers, Eriksson considers safety his first priority, beginning by equipping himself with protective clothing from head to toe and guarding against damage to his sight and hearing. Eriksson also considers wedges, pry bars, saw maintenance tools, and a first aid kit as part of his essential safety gear. An important part of safety is proper starting of the saw. One effective and widely used method is to place the saw on the ground, free of obstructions, engage the chain brake, place your toe in the rear handle, and give the starter rope a good brisk pull. Eriksson's emphasis on safety has led him to the development of an alternative method for starting his chainsaw.
Always put the chain brake on when you start the chainsaw, and a good grip around the front handle so the thumb is under the ball. Take your right hand on the starting rope like this and put the back handle between your legs. Tight the rope and pull.
Always give the starting rope a firm, steady pull. Here's another important safety point. Always keep your chain brake on when you move from place to place, especially moving between trees. Now to felling a tree. The process starts some distance away. From a distance, you can see if a tree has any side lean. Checking how a tree leans and how other trees around it are leaning will give you a picture of just what you can do with a tree. But you need more than one angle. While you're checking the tree, make sure to check for all sorts of hazards, dead branches, broken tops, hanging branches, anything that could fall from the tree and injure you later.
So in this position I have all the information I need. Now I know what technique I should use. But first I have to go and clean everything before felling. And I like to do that first.
Next, it'll be important to establish an escape path from the cutting area. Take the time to make sure such an escape path is perfectly clear. The escape path should always be 45 degrees to the rear of the felling direction.
Now to cutting. This is my felling direction, but due to the back leaning here, I need to use my wedges.
Using the felling sight on the saw, you can establish the direction of your open face cut.
I have a line on the chainsaw. It's 90 degrees to the bar. I use that to aim the tree where I want that.
Ericsson suggests that you always begin the open face cutting technique with a top cut of about 50 degrees.
Yeah, this tree is very flat here. So the only thing I'm looking for is just to get 80% of the diameter of the tree. I look in to the upper cut here so I can see perfect. When the bar now, when it comes from a 40 degree below here, a type of humble cut, and that piece should be around 90 degrees.
In the Ericsson method, proper execution of the top cut sets up the bottom cut. The wedge that comes out of the cut should be around 90 degrees. You needn't worry about that at first. 70 degrees is generally considered sufficient for proper felling, but 90 degrees is perfect. Your eye will get better with practice.
And when the tree now starts to go down, I don't like these two to meet. If they meet too early, that means that it will pull fiber or break the hinge or something. Since this is a high quality tree, I like to cut one wing cut there, one on this side. I like to cut the 5 to 10 last year's fiber off, so they don't pull. After that, I like to branch cut the middle, because the old wood there doesn't do very well as a hinge, but it could pull wood.
The technique Ericsson is using here is called a plunge cut. Basically, it means cutting with the tip of the bar and plunging it into the tree. The technique should only be used with care, and only after you have completed a dealer safety course. The plunge cut can cause some severe kickbacks and should be used only with great caution.
You can see here now, one cut there, and the plunge cut in the middle. That made it possible for me to control how big hinge I have. One here, one there. Now what is left is just to see how thick the hinge will be. And I start to plunge cut in here and cut up to that hinge.
The importance of the hinge cannot be overstated. It is an important determinant of felling direction and of the safety of the entire procedure. Since it's important to keep control of the falling direction of the tree, Ericsson again suggests the use of a plunge cut. Ericsson cuts with the body of the chainsaw in the middle of the tree. About halfway through, he stops, puts in a wedge, and pounds it in with an axe. The wedge keeps the tree from resting back and will allow you to help it fall forward should that push be needed later. There may be times when it will be preferable to fell a tree without using wedges. In some applications, the brake bar will be preferred. In others, the tree itself may provide enough leverage as to make use of wedges unnecessary.
Here we can see the end result of it. The two hinges steer the tree all the way down to the ground. You can see the cut on these two sides here, the two wing cuts, and the plunge cut in the middle created these two. No pulling fiber. After that, when I came up in this position with the bar, I put this wedge in here and punch that so I get pressure on it, finish my cut. But because of this heavy back leaning here, I needed 2 wedges. So I put the other wedge in here. And now I start to feed this one, so this position here. When I get in here, now I just continue with 1 wedge to the tree one.
When used properly, the open face technique will work on any tree, regardless of size or species. It's more efficient than the Humboldt or conventional cuts because it reduces the chances of expensive wood being ruined or by breaking or pulling fibers. And it's safer because it allows the chainsaw operator to fell a tree step by step in an unhurried manner, even to pause and assess the situation if necessary. As with all chainsaw operation, however, there is a word of warning. This technique should not be attempted by anyone who has not been properly instructed in its use. Steel Chainsaws has presented this demonstration of the open face technique as part of its continuing effort to promote more efficient and safe logging practices throughout the timber industry. Safety has always been a prime concern at Stihl and always will be. Warning: plunge cutting when the nose of the bar is used for cutting poses an extreme danger of kickback. If you are inexperienced with a chainsaw, do not attempt to plunge cut. Instead, seek the help of a trained professional. Warning: the alternative open face felling technique and the alternative chainsaw starting technique shown in this film should not be used unless additional training by a professional in these techniques has been received.